Antonio. He was first elected to the to the House in 2000, and this year was elected to the Senate. He has introduced the state's first medical marijuana comprehensive legislation in the Senate, the companion bill to Representative Marquez's medical marijuana bill in the House, and he has worked on many critical issues, including veterans' health, education, and employment benefits. Please join me in welcoming him and thanking him for his leadership.
I know that if my wife had been so kind to drive me up as fast as she could, she would be here right now joining you. I want to start, first of all, by thanking each and every one of you for being here today to represent your children and your families. You know, you've come to your capital, not the capital, it's your capital. This building is yours today to do what any parent would do. Advocate for safe medicine and relief for their suffering children. It's time that the state of Texas stop criminalizing being a mother, a caregiver, and a lover. And help you gain access to effective treatment for your kids. This session, I filed Senate Bill 1839 to establish safe and legal framework for patients to get prescribed medical cannabis from their doctors. I filed this bill because I think it's time that the government stops picking and choosing which medicine is the effective one to treat diseases that affect our families. Politicians don't have any business in getting between you and your doctor and your children's doctors. The science is in. Medicinal cannabis can provide relief of a variety of diseases from seizures, autism, cancer, Crohn's, PTSD, and others. But yet here in Texas, we keep our head in the sand and afraid of outdated stigmas. Stigmas that we all know have very little to base in any kind of science. Let's think about it for a second. A soldier can risk his or her life in the horrors of war and then come home and be denied effective measured treatment for their PTSD. It's time we stand up for our veterans, and we stand up for our cancer patients, and we stand up for the mothers and their children for fighting relief for all children. What I admire the most about you and this group, and why I filed this legislation on your behalf and so many others, is because of your resiliency. You didn't wake up one morning and decide to try medicinal cannabis for your child. No, you tried every other avenue. And that's the thing, you have tried everything they prescribed. And when that hasn't worked, you didn't give up. Because as a parent, you don't give up. You can't just throw your hands up and give in and give up on your child. You keep fighting. You keep searching for safe and effective treatment for their illness. That fight, that struggle, has led you here in medicinal cannabis. And after trying everything else, you found relief for a sick child or a dying cancer patient or veteran struggling with PTSD. So friends, that's why I'm here today, to stand with you because of your resiliency, to help you find relief for you and your children. When you find that relief, that discussion should be between you and your doctor, not between you and politicians. In closing, this is not a partisan deal. And so many issues around this building have become so hyper-partisan. I encourage you to find the most, get a broad spectrum. Get the most conservative friends you may have and educate them. Get the most Democratic, get everybody. Because what I hope that when this goes to the committee, that the members of the committee realize, let's put aside, you know, they should be hearing from people that come up to the dais and say, look, I normally vote X. Tell them how you vote. Because I want them to see you're not supporting this because of how the rest of your politics. They need to understand, because I think so many of them fear their primary voters. They fear that this is going to be something that's going to hurt them in a primary election. There's a sense of fear from politicians to get me or something. And so it was interesting because initially I had one of my longtime supporters back home, a veteran, and he's like, oh, Jose, we can't let this be like California. Someone comes in with a headache or a stomach ache and they're going to all these potheads are getting free. I said, time out. I said, Richard, time out. This is not about that. And so he said, you know what, I talked it over with my family members, and he said, so many of them agree that there's a need for this. And so we need to find those folks. It's you plus. It's not just you. It's you plus all the members of your family. It's you plus all your neighbors. It's you plus everyone that you go to church with. It's you plus who you work with. So you've got to, when these bills come before committee, maybe we don't have, everyone testify, but you fill the room. And you all, wear your shirts or your buttons or whatever it is that you can to show the unity that you have. They need to see, and they need to see you in their offices. And they need to see, look, we're not just from Austin or from San Antonio. We're from all over. We're from Dallas, from Houston. They need to hear from you individually. They need to know that this is an issue that is about health. What I don't understand is how is it that everybody can be fine with whether it be hydrocodone or hydromorphone or, you name the painkiller that's out there. We know the kids are abusing more of their parents' painkillers from their medicine cabinet than they actually are smoking, and they're dying. And they're going into gas stations and they're buying stuff that says it's potpourri, and they're dying. Unfortunately, we're working hard to outlaw that stuff as well. But the issue is this is a plant that has proven to have medicinal benefits. And you're just asking for a legal framework that a doctor can help your child or your family produce. And so, you're not saying, let us all, roll a fountain. You're just saying, help me help my child. And that's the thing is you have to fight the potential stigma or the potential framework that some people are going to put this in. This is not about headaches and stomach aches. This is about serious situations that need serious. And you know what? You wouldn't be up here using your time. You have 100 other things you could be doing today other than be sitting in this building doing this. And so when it does come back and we have the time to educate our elected officials, just explain to them. You wouldn't be here unless you thought this was going to be. So thank you for your attention. It's an honor to have you. I don't know if I have all the answers, but I don't pretend to have all the answers.
I have one. How can we ensure autism makes it before you is it done when we
The good thing is this. The bill is going through the process. It is a living document. It was put on, get taken off. I think the best thing to do was to provide us some information that shows that there's relief from it and that there's medicinal qualities. At the end of the day, I don't think we need to be drawing what gets put on. I think we need to be saying that the doctors can say that there's scientific evidence that the doctors should, because what if we just put a little list of things that qualify and then they come up with evidence of something else? I'm not going to tell you that I'm open to any situation that requires the medicinal benefits of this. I'm open for.
I guess our concern, and Christy, you can back up on this too, is that autism isn't a qualifying condition in any state and should be, and we've sent some stuff to your office. I officially want to see that happen for the first time in Texas.
Well, obviously, you've got the evidence of how other states have decided, then we can use that. That's at the end of the day, we have to convince the lawmakers that are going to be sitting in the chairs behind us that this is the reason why it needs to be. And so it's not just me, but it's the people who are going to be voting on this. We're going to have, passing a bill in Texas is a very difficult thing to do. You have to convince a majority of people in the Senate and the House, and then you get the governor not to be doing it. Yes, ma'am.
I realize that we have to go kick and scream in all ways that you heard. I understand that part of it. But I want to know how to kick and scream. I don't want to just kick and scream. I want to know actually how to kick and scream that actually affects the people who need to hear that have to see and maybe.
Let me,
Do we need 1,000 signatures? Do we need 1,000 signatures?
let us first start defining terms. When you say kicking and screaming, you mean convincing lawmakers that this is the right thing to do. Is
Yes,
that-
sir.
Okay. So, some people use the word lobbying. I prefer the word advocate. You're advocating on behalf of a cause, and you know one's paying you to do this, right?
Right.
You don't get paid, right? So, advocates for a cause, for a good cause, the best thing that you can do is that you have a very educated conversation. The number one way is a one-on-one conversation, face to face if possible. So you try, you go by the office, is the representative available? Where do you live?
And these states.
Okay, you call in your town, where if your state rep lives in your town, he may live in the next county over. I'd love to have a cup of coffee with my representative. And then just tell me when he or she's available. And then you just, whenever that person's available, I just need 5 minutes. And then you come in and look. They probably, knowing East Texas today, I expect you to probably say, look, I'm just gonna start giving you a generalization. Look, you can say, I'm a good Baptist, conservative Baptist, like you or he or she. I'm just using general terms. I tend to vote Republican, and I've supported you in the past. I'm here today because this is not a partisan issue, this is a medical issue, and I need you to understand it. Here's what we've gone through. We've gone through this, and this, and this is why we're convinced that this is the only way left for us. That's it. So now, you try that face-to-face with your representatives. The best place to do this is in your hometown, because up here, there's 100 people trying to get hold. Just trying to find this place, I get stopped by 10, 15 people trying to have their conversation about their issue. Hey, I've got this on my phone. And so what happens is, okay, in that 30-second span, I've heard this, and then now the next 30 seconds I hit, and so sometimes it doesn't have time to get in. And so you being here is good, going by their offices, dropping off the information, but the best thing to do is when you go to your individual legislator, your representative, or your senator and say, I'm your constituent, and then you write them a letter. And the best thing is if you can do a handwritten one, if not, do it, type it up yourself. The form letters don't go over so well. We can see that they're forms because as soon as we get the second or third one that looks exactly the same, we just switch them out. We create a form response to the grant. Okay, we're going to get 100 of these, so we know we have to do 100 replies. But when you do an individual one, you get an individual response. At least we do. So the issue is this. You say, my name is what's your name? My name is Lana, and I'm going to just make up the last name, Jones. And as as representative, senator, I live in your district, and I've always been a strong supporter in this and that and the other, and this is why I voted this issue. And I want to know your position on this issue. Respectfully await your response. It can be that short. There's this bill that we support because we feel these are the ones that make the most sense for our families. And that's it. It can really be that short. So first, you try to have the face-to-face. I always encourage you try to do it back home. If you can't, you do it here. You go by their offices, you send a piece of mail, and then you call and you email. You have to do all of those because they have to see the support that comes in. The other thing is go get your friends and family members and neighbors and people that believe. But I caution against just creating some people do a website, push button thing, it goes into, I'm not sure that makes that much of an impact. I think real people giving real stories. Now, when you come and the bill's up before you come testify, you may have a letter. Provide them the letter, but then you just tell them your story. Don't read anything. Just tell them, look, I'm here because this is what my family's gone through. This is what we're going through. And this is where you can help. Just tell them. Just tell them from the heart. Don't read them anything because they can read it and they'll read it. And most of the time, 9 times out of 10, their staff's already read it. Don't get offended or insulted if you just see staff. On the Senate side, there's only 31 of us available for 26 million Texans. We have 850,000 constituents, more than Congress, and you don't, and this is not a complaint, but it's not a full-time job, you're not being paid. So, on top of this, we have other jobs and stuff, and so we do get enough staff power so that they can own issues, own committee assignments. And so some of the staffers actually know more about the issues that are before them. And typically what happens, they issue a recommendation to their boss. And that's the first inclination that person has on what they're gonna do. Because they're looking at, this session, I think we filed 6,000 bills we filed, I think something like that. So 6,000 bills, that's a lot of stuff. And so if you jump on the committee and you have your book, and then that day they're gonna hear 4 or 5 bills and you open it up and your staff's gonna say, this is who's for it, this is who's against it, these are the issues that have been brought up, these are the folks, and so here's our recommendation is X. So many times, having a good in-depth conversation with the staff members is valuable. Obviously, everybody's office is different. And so I'm just telling you what I've observed over the last 15 years. So that was a good question. Those are the ways that I think you can be actively involved. I know that sometimes this is a personal, passionate issue, okay? So passion's good, genuine passion, genuine emotions, tears, but try not to. We had someone early in the beginning sort of lose their temper a little bit, and what happens is that sort of just shuts them off. All of a sudden, the conversation stops, and that's what you don't want. And so, just be careful. Even if they're being cold or a little indifferent or a little, you're going to get that feeling. Sometimes you're not going to feel like they're going to be all that interested. And it's okay to say, look, I understand this may not be your first priority, but it's my family's priority. It's okay to say that. You have to understand you're asking them to help you, and so it's hard. It's tough to be on the requesting side. I've done that too, so it's not easy.
One more question. Let's see, one more. Anybody?
Yes, ma'am.
How are your colleagues in the Senate responding to this legislation?
I'll be very honest because that's the only way I like to do things. This isn't on their radar screen right now. It's just not so far on their radar screen. I think I have a group of colleagues that I think would be open to this issue. I think there's a lot of them that we're going to have to convince. I think right now everybody's focus has been on the budget and on some of the bills that have been, unfortunately we've had to deal on the floor with open carry, with guns and all this other stuff. And so I think there's a lot of hot button issues that you're seeing, that you're reading about in the paper that are having like statewide implications, and they're trying to figure out what are we going to do. So I think there's a little bit of a concern, and I think one of the things that I think your best thing that you have going for, and this one especially, like when you have the thing mothers advocating for and the reason why, and you have veterans and the reason why, and you have the silver-haired legislature. So you have groups that they traditionally feel like they're just level-headed, people who are active in the process. And so what I don't want this movement to do is to get pigeonholed as being a movement only for a very small area. This is something that's positive, access to something that should be a medicine for everyone. Because at the end of the day, I think you could also say, look, I hope to God that no one in your family ever has to suffer what we suffer through. I pray that you never have to go through cancer. I pray that you don't have to go through things, because I personally have seen a loved one, a family member, the chemo was so bad that he just said, I'd just rather go. And my son was asking, why can't we get him this? Because he done some research, and it's against the law. And so it's frustrating. It's a very frustrating situation. And so that's why I just say, I don't want to say the right word's not warn, it's caution or advise you to even though you're going to go through a lot of emotions as you're talking to these folks about what you've lived through, just ask them, just try to put yourself in my shoes. That's just kind of, try, as the emotions start to well up, just ask them, just for a second, try to think about what it would be like. If you feel like they're kind of not, they're not. You can sometimes, we've all talked to lots of people, and you can just sort of see that they're just trailing off, that they're not paying 100% attention. And you say, look, I don't need a lot of your time, I just, the time, whatever time you have, I want it to be time that you really can listen to. That's it. And just be nice and smile, and at the end of the day, the longer I live, the more I realize that in order to convince someone of something, at first you have to almost convince them that you're someone that they want to listen to. You know, and so it's almost, you got to sell yourself in that first 6 to 10 seconds first, and then you get to the rest of your deal. So any other questions? If not, thank you.
Thank